And welcome back. We'll continue on with testing of things. What I've done is I've created two books and given them a title, Grim and Dune, just to show that we can actually test to see if a book string is less than or equal to another book string, or any string compared to any other string. Just to show how this works. And since we didn't put anything out, so book 1 is not less than book 2. Is it greater than? Yep. I should say greater, just for conciseness. So what you can see going on here is that you're testing these things. Now, strings kind of work simple. They test for each character. So the G can test to the D. So if you have duplicate letters, it's going to test each one of these things in order. So what you're going to get is effectively a dictionary sort of these two words. And once again, as soon as I go to DR to DU, is book 1 greater than book 2? Well, which comes last, R or U? The U does. So therefore you can see this. Now, if you're going to test strings, you actually have 3 possibilities, and all the comparator operators work. You have greater than, you have less than, you have less than or equal to. That seems to have locked up. Less than and equal to. You have greater than or equal to. You have equals. You can test all these things comparing one string to another string without any trouble whatsoever. Now, you also have the ability, if you wanted to, you could test a string versus a string literal. And see that you can test to see if it equals things. This is useful in looking forward towards later on. You could say, okay, search a list of books and find to see if we actually have a book with a title of Drim in it in a rudimentary way. So you can actually test and compare strings. Find me the user whose last name starts with a D, or who has the name Bob, whatever. You can test strings left and right all the way through this. And that's the usefulness of testing. You can test strings, numbers, characters, letters, anything you want. And there's one more thing to look into when it comes to testing. It's called the conditional operator. And it's kind of a funky thing. It's an expression followed by a question mark, followed by an expression, a colon, followed by an expression, followed by a semicolon. This literally says, test this thing here. If it's true, do this. If it's false, do this. So you could say, is book 1 equal to Drim? And if it's true, you can do a chunk of code. So this gives you a quick little true-false thing to test. And you can see, is Drim equal to Drim? It's true. Or it's false if it's not, so we can say Drimmy. False. It's a short way of doing an if-else. The takeaway from this is some people find these hard to read. You don't see them a lot, or I haven't seen a lot of them in code. If-elses tend to make more sense. But they can be very, very complex in that This expression here can be a single expression. It can be a block of expressions. It can be a call to a function, which we'll get into later. So these are actually fairly useful for doing quick and dirty testing. Um, just make sure you're using it in a way that makes sense and that it's readable by the user or readable by yourself later on. So that covers conditional operators and conditional expressions. We've already talked about menus and switches. We've talked about ifs and elses, and this pretty much covers the whole decision process involved with this part of the programming class. If you have any questions, once again, bounce me an email or catch me up on Discord for the class. If you're not part of my class, well, maybe I'll drop a video out there that gives you a chance to put some feedback in there and ask questions. But right now, there you go. You've got testing and you've got conditional expressions, and next up, loops. Hope you're having a great day.